पहले तो परमेश्वर का धन्यवाद करता हूँ। आज की इस सुंदर दिन में हमें सौभाग्य मिला यहाँ मंच में उपस्थित होने का और इतने अच्छे लोगों के साथ और उनकी बातों को सुनने का जो मौका मिला वो हमारे लिए बहुत धन्य होने का एक विचार बता रहा हूँ। Respected Minister for Higher and Technical Education, Government of Uttarakhand, respected Honorable Ambassador of Venezuela, and also eminent bureaucrats who have come from different big states of this country, and also barons of the education sector, professors, principals, and also the people who are driving to innovate and to bring our country to a new sphere of education. Thank you so much. Chairperson, thank you for your time. He is also healthy like me. I am grateful that on this 12th World Education Summit, I have the privilege to come here to be invited upon from a very tiny state of Nagaland from the northeast part of this country. Thank you very much. I wouldn't take much time because I know time has already elapsed. I would just like to share a few thoughts. And the thoughts is that an educated India can be a strong India. Only an educated India will give us a very strong, dynamic India. My dear friends, I know most of you are from companies and from sectors that develop the educational spheres in different ways. Maybe smart classes, digitalization, uniforms, books, and so on and so forth. But I also bring before you a new thought which we together need to ponder upon. Not only the education ministers of this country, of the different states, not only the barons of the industry of education in different sectors. When we talk about the world, we cannot say that we cannot talk about our country. And when we talk about India, भारत के विषय में जब हम बात करते हैं, सिर्फ बड़े बड़े राज्यों के बारे में बात नहीं करना चाहिए, हम बहुत छोटे राज्यों के बारे में भी बात करना चाहिए. And we need to put our hearts throughout the country, as much as our diversity of our people, of our tradition and our culture exists in this country. So would also be educating our Indian children, educating our countrymen would differ from time, space, places, and sectors. One of the biggest problems that we as a small state face here in Delhi is when policies are made, it is made pan-India. It is made according to what is needed for the whole country. We may be weaker in some sectors, but we may be very strong in some sectors. The way you may want to educate a student of Delhi Public School, or maybe Lucknow Public School, or maybe some of the great institutions that are there, St. Stephen's, or maybe many other colleges and universities, that would differ in certain parts of this country, maybe in the northeastern part of the country. Why I'm saying this is because we need to look into the rich traditional and cultural aspects of educating our people. Why do I say it out again? Is because when you look at digital India, when you are trying to digitalize, when you are trying to bring robotics, when you are trying to bring smart classes, I request you, do not take away the essence of teaching. Do not take away the essence of cultural teaching. Do not take away the essence of traditional upbringing. You cannot teach an Assamese guy like you would teach a UPite. You cannot teach a Punjabi guy the way you may want to teach a Keralite. It differs, my dear friends. It really differs. Just as our country is young, with 70% of young population coming up between or below the age group of 40 or 35, India, our country, is arriving to the world. We are a young nation not only in terms of our independence, but we are a young nation in terms of youngsters. And we need to reach out to be an educated India. An educated India doesn't mean only by the certifications of being a postgraduate, of being a doctorate, of being an engineer or a doctor. Do we go out to the world or we bring the world to our country? That's the thought we need to have. Do we go out and adopt the ways of the Western world, or do we bring the Western world to our country and let them know what we are doing in the field of education? It may be a complete paradigm shift in the way of thinking, but great thoughts are taught from very small things. I would love the rest of the world to come and know how we as Nagas would traditionally bring an upbringing. And somewhere down the line, we have lost that. By the influx of so many things which is coming in, our traditional way of upbringing children is lost. So would also be maybe in the rest of the country. My dear friends, I know you are going to have a lot of contemplation. I know you are going to have a lot of thought processes how to make the industry of education grow. How many, digital classrooms can be upgraded, how many smart classrooms can be there, how many, this schools and that can be brought up in that way. But also work on research, study our country in its diversity. And as you study our country in our diversity, adopt those effective, assertive decisions, products, and ways that would educate our people in that way. Our country is growing day by day, not only in population, but also in our human resource. One of the things that we are looking upon in our country is the defense, and it should be in education also. Our Honorable Minister from Uttarakhand was saying that in the education field, the finances are quite poor, quite less. That's true, sir. In the education sector, it is quite less. But the only way we as a nation can do well one day is not only by bringing up our defense forces, but also by bringing up our educated human resource forces. By letting it be known throughout the world that there must be an Indian, not only a Keralite or a Punjabi, but there must be an Indian in Venezuela, in the cornermost part of Venezuela, in the cornermost part of Iceland, maybe in the cornermost part of Australia, maybe in somewhere in Africa also, where an Indian is doing well, where our education is grounded and rooted in its traditional diversity and strength. My only fear as a Minister for Education is when we try to bring in so many smart things and smart classes, we should not be losing out on the strength of our traditions and culture, which is actually the real strength for us. One of my friends was speaking about Dr. Abdul Kalam and many other great leaders. And I'm sure Dr. Abdul Kalam have not studied in some of the premier institutions. I respect the premier institutions which are doing so well in over the country. But let us also put our hearts towards those institutions which are maybe insignificant to name, except by the portrait of that great man who has studied there, where it was completely tough work and hard work, chiseled by the roughness and the poorness of that institution, and he or she has grown up to be a great leader who served its people. I wouldn't take much time, but let me put across this point very clearly. Our country today is at the forefront of the nations of the world, not because of only the great institutions. It is because of the great human spirit that we have. हमारा देश हमारे लोगों के कारण चलते हैं, सिर्फ पैसे के कारण नहीं या बहुत बड़ा विश्वविद्यालयों के कारण नहीं, मगर हमारे लोगों के कारण. The human spirit as an Indian, the human spirit to do well, the human spirit in spite of nothingness trying to create something and do something. And I'm sure most of you that are sitting here have also crossed that line and have come here today. May we imbibe that spirit to grow. If we are not emotional in our aspects of work, today's corporates, today's institutions teach us, leave emotions aside, pure business. I tell you, business is important. But the emotion to drive our country, the emotion to contribute to our country is most, and it is the most important. Otherwise, with 1.25 billion population, our country may end in chaos. So today, our gathering may be a few hundred. But let the message go across throughout the states that we together are there to build a nation educated, infusing the right goals into our people. Development and education would be justified not by catching the highest position or not by being at the commanding position, but by being satisfied people. But by being able to infuse knowledge into those people who are going to be the future of our country, by allowing them the right knowledge to grow, by allowing them to be satisfied people who serve the country with dedication and with sincerity. Today's children are mostly driven by wanting to do something greater than many things. That is good, but that has to be put in the right direction. Today, when a child sees a BMW, he wants to own it. Today, when a young boy sees an aeroplane, he may want to own it. While educating our people's strength needs to come not from greed, but our people's strength needs to come from service. A strong society of this country needs to be built up. We lost it somewhere on the way. And today, I am proud to be a minister for higher education. The reason being is that my department might not have a lot of money, My department might not have a lot of things to give, but today, people like our Honorable Minister and myself, we deal with the future of our country. We deal with who the leaders of our country is going to be one day. And we are emotional about it. We are strong about it. And under the able leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, and Prakash Javadekar ji, who is our MHRD Minister, yesterday I happened to meet him, and he was so happy to help us. He just said, okay, और क्या कर सकते हैं हम? My dear friends, as we arrive into the 21st century, I would like to end my speech by saying, let us arrive in the right way. Let us take this industry very spiritually. Let us build our institutions and reach out to the poorest, to the weakest, and to the most deprived. The goal of the BJP government in Delhi is not only to empower the empowered, but the most important thing is to empower the unempowered. And what better field than the field of education? Education would cover empowering the empowered by 90% than the rest of all the departments. Knowledge will give freedom. Knowledge will give strength. Knowledge will give existence. And knowledge alone can give vision. And the Bible says, a people without vision is lost. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.